Okay, guys, thank you for coming. Again, appreciate all the time and effort into this. We're going to have Dan, Matt Hunter, and Tom from Honda step up on the stage. And they're here to just answer any final questions you guys might have from yesterday, and then as well as what you saw in the keynote. They're not going to be presenting any material here. This is truly just an open kind of old school Q&A forum here. So Dan can handle anything on the EPYC side. Monty can handle AI software and AI hardware. And we've got some others that are in the room that can help out if we have any specific questions. So similar things yesterday. If you've got a question, raise your hand. Someone on the PR team will come to you with a mic, and we'll go from there. All right, who's going to go first? You got until the top of the hour, and then it's lunch. Over here.
I'm just curious on the messaging of, you've got all these inference GPUs for data centers, but at the same time you're saying, hey, buy new PCs with AI processing on it, it'll do it on the PC. Doesn't that kind of undercut the need for the inferencing at the data center? Are they kind of go against each other?
Okay, so great question. Thank you so much for that. So we actually think of this all the time, right? And in fact, when we laid out our overall strategy, we said that AI is going to be pervasively infused across all forms of compute for a reason. The reason is different environments, different applications drive different requirements. So if you think about very, very low latency, where you need stuff to respond immediately, you don't have time to actually go up to the cloud and come back. That has to run locally on a PC. Right? If you think about data that you do not want to leave on your device, that has to run locally. Also, in the form factor that you are possessing, in the power envelope, in the compute that you have, we have put 50 plus stops, and we're going to increase that. But if you think about what is there in the cloud, you have how much do we say, many petaflops. Right? So there's an order of magnitude difference in terms of the compute as well. So it's just every form factor, every device, every application has different requirements, and that diversity is what we are recognizing and implementing different AI solutions for. Is it on now?
Yeah, you can begin now.
Okay, thanks.
Who's next? Alex.
Hi, Alex from TechAdvice.life in Australia. You've got the CPU, the GPU, the NPU, the DPU, and leadership in all those spaces, as we saw yesterday and today. One of the things that Lenovo said on stage is that they are able to produce technology from pocket to the cloud. Now that's because they have Motorola, they have Lenovo, they have smartphones. Most of those smartphones obviously running on the ARM processors. But is that something, is that an area you ever think you'll go into, even if it's down the track? Because mobile devices aren't going to go away. I mean, we're going to have the glasses, we have Qualcomm with their glasses, and that's another area that's going to grow tremendously over the next 5 years. Obviously, you're not going to give away your secret plans and all the rest for the next half decade, but just is it something you're thinking about down the track because you have this AI leadership and the technology?
Yeah, first I would just say that I would love to have an EPYC in every one of your slides. Let's start with that.
Now that's been clear. But no, I definitely would bring it back to the earlier comment I made, right? We do see AI being pervasively infused across all computing platforms. We have a set of markets and computing applications that we service, a set of markets we participate in, and that's been thoughtfully laid out for strategy. And in those areas, in those spaces, we are absolutely infusing AI. As things will evolve, there could be other things that we will do, but we feel really, really good about what we're doing right now. But great question.
Thanks. For Dan, Dean Takahashi from VentureBeat, just wondered, from your sort of looking at market share numbers and sharing those yesterday, what kind of lag, I guess, do we see between, say, product introductions and market share gains? Can you just sort of explain, like, 34% in service seems pretty good, but then also it feels like the leadership has been there in technology products for a while, but the market share changes slowly, I guess.
Yeah, well, look, I think that if you look at it, over the course of 7 years, we've actually gained quite a bit of market share from zero. when you see the fastest, growth is really kind of when we're in what we're doing right now, right? When you're keeping the same platform, right? Because our goal is to deliver all this performance, all this energy efficiency, and all this economic value, but enable customers with the same platform. So that's typically when you see it, right? With Genoa, and if you want all 4th Gen EPYC, that was a complete platform transition for us to DDR5 and all the associated changes there. So if you look at probably the fastest point in our, what I call the EPYC journey, it was probably Rome to Milan. Right? And again, that was SP3 to SP3. We delivered 25% performance per watt, 19% IPC uplift. So a lot of value dropping. We're doing the same thing right now from Genoa and Bergamo to TURIN, right? And scale up, TURIN. So, we do expect our share gains to continue, going forward here based on this new launch.
Yeah, Tobias Hyman, Register. This one's for Dan. We made a big point of emphasizing consolidation with the latest set of EPYCs up to 192 cores. That's a lot of threads. It's also a pretty big blast radius if any one of those servers goes down. Something that we're hearing about from our readers, and I wonder if you can address that particular concern.
Well, look, the entire industry is going here, right? So when you look at our competitors, we've done a lot of analysis on this concern around blast radius. We find that, it's a little bit unfounded, truly. We've got links of data to show you this that we could probably follow up, but overall, we're not seeing that. That's been we hear that a fair amount in the enterprise, right? As people are trying to go from 16, 24 core to even 64. But we can show a lot of data that says it's actually even more resilient and tolerant as you go up in terms of core counts, whether you go 1P or 2P. So we haven't seen that. I know it's been a sort of a conversation we've had, but we've got a lot of data to show that it's actually improving with the higher core count. Yeah, we can do that.
Alex, again.
Yeah. Thank you. Got a couple of questions. Everyone is wanting to make their own AI chips. From OpenAI to Google to Meta to Microsoft. I mean, a number of these companies are your current customers and partners. But not everyone can succeed at creating AI chips. I mean, Samsung reportedly has apologized to its customers for not leading in this space, and Intel seems to be all over the place. Probably less we say about them. But centralization and decentralization, though, with expansion and consolidation, is a constant theme in the world of tech. So what do you think of all these efforts to create competing AI chips, and are any of these companies secretly reaching out to you for help?
Yeah, so first of all, I would like 100% acknowledge and agree with you that it's hard to make these deep submicron technologies work. 150 billion transistors that these technologies are not easy. So it takes an institution and an institutional knowledge to make it work. So that's thing one. So the number of people that actually can participate in this is limited by that complexity. But we take the view that the market is so big and so broad, and it's growing, and it has many opportunities for specialization. So over the course of time, there may be others that would have a set of opportunities that they will take, and that's fine. And we think in everything that we see, if we execute well to our roadmap, we have a fantastic business to be able to build and a fantastic opportunity to serve the market.
I would just add to that, look, the capital outlay to maybe do one and then keep on the cadence that Vamsi is on is very, very challenging. So, I just wanted to emphasize that, right? I think there's a number of smaller companies out there that have built a chip or they have an accelerator card. The software overlay and the software investment is very, very big, and then you have to keep up, right, on a yearly cadence. So that's I think the bigger problem of what customers or not what other vendors are facing.
All right, anybody else? Patrick and Tobias.
All right. Hey Dan, really quick question. So when you look forward, AMD has always looked to keep the same socket for a while and do a lot of refreshes in that. But as you kind of move into new generations of PCIe, for faster networking, faster AI accelerators, like does your cadence on the EPYC side have to change from what it has been previously? It just kind of feels like the idea of extending a platform for a long time and people are pushing high end just kind of feels.
Yeah, it's, by the way, that is a conversation we have all the time around cadence, right? So what I talked about yesterday was, over the last 5 generations, we've been somewhere in the realm of 16 to 24 months, right? And we want to be in that realm for server CPUs. We are looking at cadence. The big thing you got to think about is, can the market actually consume it, right? And that's one of the things we look at actually more so than just what are the features that we need to bring to market. So we're looking at it quite a bit, but right now, if you look at this, and we haven't said a lot about our roadmap, we're probably going to be in that same cadence, 18-ish to 22-ish months for next generation.
Someone had that in for you?
Oh, wow.
Sorry. So, we just heard about the blast radius from the gentleman from the register, but I also read that the next pandemic virus isn't going to be human or medical, but technological. So what is AMD doing with the industry to make sure that any technological pandemic doesn't have the entire, ever more technical planet as a blast radius?
Yeah. It's
Got a little dark there, Alex.
I know.
Dystopian movies,
So,
I love my sci-fi.
Yeah, as any sort of responsible technology company, right, we take responsible AI very seriously. So we have an internal responsible AI council that has the highest level of executive participation, and anything that we do, whether it's actually our products that are carrying AI technology or whether it's usage of AI within AMD, goes through a council with a process. And we also had an external firm that's looking at responsible AI practices across the industry, give us advice and say, hey, you guys are doing some of these things right, how do you get better? We're also participating in various industry councils, starting with even Lisa participating at the highest levels. So it's as with any of these incredibly powerful technologies, you have to have this focus to ensure that they're being used responsibly, and we feel like we are doing the things that we need to do to behave responsibly.
I mean, it's also more about like a malware or a virus that's not even AI going bad, but something much simpler that somehow spreads across the world, like with CrowdStrike.
Yeah. I mean, CrowdStrike was a reminder, right, for all of us that we need to take things incredibly seriously. And so if you broaden that out beyond AI, again, right, we have security is taken extremely seriously. Again, with Mark Papermaster running right out at the highest level, a security office that actually looks at this comprehensively, whether it's product security or usage of other things within AMD. So I'd say that we are vigilant as ever, but we are redoubling almost, right, with every major initiative to ensure that we are signing off when we're building products, right, doing those sorts of things much more rigorously.
I would just add, it's time to, we talked about this yesterday, right? Generation after generation, for us in terms of confidential computing, we add new features every single generation. Trusted I/O is super critical, right? In this world of GPUs and both front end and back end NICs, we need to extend that trust zone to all of these adapters. So, I mean, to Vamsi's point, Mark Papermaster has been driving the security effort now across multiple generations. We'll just continue to drive it, but the threat is not going away. It's only getting, probably bigger as we go forward.
Maybe if I can add just one other last point here, is for I think over a decade, I used to manage the Xilinx products and portfolio, and those products went into defense applications, incredibly sensitive, automotive applications, for example, that demand an entirely higher level of these kinds of things, like security and so on. So when we build some of our newer products, we actually have initiatives running where I ask, hey, did you look at the types of things that you're doing in the S level of AMD? What makes sense to adopt into products here? So we also have that cross pollination of good ideas that's helping us.
Elias, did you still have a question? Then we'll get to you, Dean.
Yeah, another core related question for Dan here. I'm curious to know how much pushback you're receiving from enterprise customers in particular regarding technical debt and per core licensing as a barrier to adopting these higher core count parts.
Yeah, so it's a good question. Look, I said this, I talked about sort of the enterprise traction we've seen, right? We are, over the last couple of years, look, I would say with Milan, it was an inflection point for the enterprise, right? And we started to really pick up, a lot of share there. And keep in mind, it actually makes sense. Forget about the technology. You're on your third gen, the enterprise does move slower. And we brought a lot of value to them there, right? So with the enterprise, it's all about building that trust, economic value, and ease of adoption, right? And we've been very focused on that with the channel partners and all of that. As we go forward, there's two things happening, right? And Lisa we talked about this yesterday. There's one that is, I've got an aging fleet. How do I do this consolidation? But then the other one is what you just mentioned, which is this, how do you get around sort of, whether it's Broadcom or Ansys or any one of these iSuites that are basically charging per core. What we've seen are two things. One is there's areas where, hey, there's a fixed fee for, XYZ number of cores. Or there's, what Lisa showed today is we drive higher per core so that you can get more work done or get, in a virtualization environment, get more vCPUs per core. Therefore, you save money on a core basis. On the flip side, you can drive a consolidation that says they're still paying for the cores, but you're driving the overall cost of the infrastructure down for that same amount of cores. So we see it as two different ways to go at it. Either really go after it with high performance, even the high frequency device we just talked about. While we're talking about that for GPU hosts, it also plays extremely well in technical compute and some of this, even some virtualization applications. So highest performance per core, and then density to consolidate the infrastructure. That's what we're seeing. It's resonating quite well. As I said yesterday, we are growing. We've been extremely focused over the last 2+ years on enterprise traction. FSI, telco, manufacturing across automotive, oil and gas, semiconductor manufacturing, retail. You heard Krista talk about going after retail, and Vlad today from Lenovo and HP going after the retail sector with us. So we're pretty excited about where we are with respect to the enterprise traction going forward. But those two areas, right? It's either go after it with that. It's exactly what Lisa talked about, right? It's either scale up with very, very high performing cores or the highest density.
This is not an end of the world question, but I'm curious what you think about the different efforts going into digital twins of the Earth. Like, what kind of simulation is that from your point of view? What kind of computing does that take? I think the Lumi customer for HPE was talking about that, but I've also heard say from NVIDIA and Earth 2, and even Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, right? So it seems like lots of this activity is happening. And I wonder how big a problem this is to solve.
Any end of the world questions go ahead.
Not before lunch. I mean, look, I would just say that everybody you speak with, not so much, in these examples, every one of the hyperscalers that you speak to today, the compute, there's no end in sight to the compute needs to do any one of these, digital twins one, but just in general, building these models. So, it's an exciting time. We're trying to solve that and go after that ourselves, but, I can't really specifically answer the question on the Earth modeling. I'm not, I know the Lumi supercomputer very well because there's lots of epics in there, but that particular application I can't really speak to.
Again, I would also admit that I may not know the specifics of what does it take for the state of nonsense, but we do participate very much in the high performance computing market, as you know. And Lumi, in fact, the silo team that we acquired are the people that actually work very closely on Lumi to build even language models. Every trend that I've seen recently, I actually read a very detailed report on AI for science, and it's just so uplifting. Even though the amount of compute needs are extraordinary and there's a huge business value proposition for us in there, to me, it's just so uplifting. Like, they believe they're going to solve so many problems. And I don't think it is just sort of some wishful research thinking. If you just plot curves and say, okay, they solve this class of problem, this class of problem, and this class of problem, and you see what the next 2-3 click stops might be, it's just incredible. So I might end on a much more positive, uplifting note, but I really believe that.
All right, I think we have time for one more. Seth, since you started, see you finish.
Thanks. Kind of build on the simulation question, which is obviously the GPUs are more and more being designed towards AI workloads. That's where most of the money's going. Do you see a version of the future where you diverge two different distinct chip types for more traditional high precision simulation, traditional HPC, and then have the AI as a separate chip type, or you always trying to do the best of both worlds combination?
Yeah. Again, like, what happens in the distant future is, always difficult to predict. But, I would just start from where we are today, right? If you look at EMI 300, it actually has two flavors, a 300A and a 300X. We specialize certain things. Our modular chiplet architecture allows us to do some nice things, and we were able to create two SKUs that were uniquely valuable, one for the high performance computing, one for AI. It's a pretty interesting trend, I would say. There's that pull that you said, hey, you take some of the super high precision clocks away and specialize. That's one trend. But there's also this other trend that I just spoke about, which is AI for science. It's saying that can you actually solve some of the more significant traditional supercomputing, high performance computing problems with AI methods, and that actually may draw towards a convergence, right? So we watch that very closely. I would say that we are pretty well positioned given our modularity and chiplet architecture to be able to react and produce solutions. But in my this is my personal view, in the long arc of time, AI capabilities will start to be so powerful that they will take more and more of what were traditional algorithms, and they get subsumed by AI algorithms. So if I were to say what might happen over the long arc of time, that might be more of what we see.
All right, and we are at time, guys, so I want to thank Dan and Bonte for coming here. They have a busy day and a busy schedule, but we appreciate that, so we'll go ahead and let them go.